All right, let's see what happens. Y'all see it live yet? Back up.
Great afternoon. Great afternoon. I believe we live, man. What's happening, everybody? How y'all doing? What's going on? Welcome, 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 welcome. What's happening, Dr. Ray? Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, my friend.
I know you guys are having a few challenges on the technical end, but we're going to make it work.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and have you be the host. Great afternoon, everybody. We are live for Dominionheir's Family Conference Session 5 with Glenn and Sheri Brooks of Marriage and Parenting Successfully. Today's session is titled, I Like You, but I Don't Love You, or I Love You, but I Don't Like You right now, sheltered in place. And it's an interesting thing as people have gathered together during COVID-19, Glenn. I have said it this way: it has revealed the things that have been hidden or concealed with lies beneath. And so Dr. Najuma Smith and Dr. Tamara Johnson got into it a little bit last night, but I said, hold on, because Glenn and Sheri are going be with me today at noon, and they certainly will handle all of the rest of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that you are in the driver's seat with this, and I'm gonna get right out of your way, and we're gonna go to speaker's view. You have it, sir. Go right ahead.
Well, I appreciate that, Ray. Thank you so much. For those of you guys who are just jumping on, super excited about the opportunity that both Sheri and I have to come and to share in this family conference. One of the things that I think that everybody needs to know very quickly is that blending families and growing relationships take work. I need you to put that in the chat. If you're just jumping in the room, go ahead and put that in the chat. Relationships take work. Building them takes work. I see a couple of people are on the call, and so I'm super excited, Ray, for the opportunity. Again, thank you so much for having us today, guys. We're going to talk about, now that we've been hunkered down for quite a while, and it's been a situation for quite a while. It's revealed what's already been going on, Ray. And I think that you had it exactly right. Here's what we're learning in the M.A.P.S Relationship Academy with the people that we get to coach on a consistent basis. The truth of the matter is wherever you were coming into the pandemic, wherever you were coming into this COVID-19 situation, this situation has just put a spotlight on it. It's illuminated what's already been there. And so Sheri and I are going to talk to you guys about what it takes to really, really nurture a friendship. As a matter of fact, next month in the M.A.P.S Relationship Academy, we're going to be devoting the entire month of July to what it looks like to build a friendship. I am significantly convinced that the reason why Sheri and I have been successful for the last 21 years in a row is because we're friends. That's it, point blank. I think that most people don't understand, babe, is that I can love you out of obligation, but I choose to like you. Does that make sense, sweetheart? I can love you out of obligation, but I can choose to like you. For those of you guys who are just jumping on, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and I'm sitting on the call now with my lovely light-skinned wife. I call her my light-skinned young lady. Introduce yourself, babe.
Hi, guys. I'm Sheri Brooks Jr. I'm an author, speaker, and relationship coach as well. Just to follow up on what you were just sharing, I think that one thing that a lot of people do not realize when they get into relationships is that, the traditional way that people, start dating, or even just in your family, I think that dealing with, you're dating somebody. That initial attraction is basically the foundation of many people's relationships. They'll be attracted to each other. They'll have a lot of things that are of interest that they share, but they don't really take the time to build a true friendship. When you think about your friendships with your best friend, or even growing up, people you were friends with, it took time to develop those friendships. Now, when you're kids, of course, they all say you meet somebody like, that's my friend. But that's not a true relationship. And I think that when you do not have a friendship as the foundation of your relationship, it's very easy to allow the trials, the trauma that you go through in your relationship, whenever you go through things, it's very hard to overcome those things when you don't like the person that you're in relationship with. So liking somebody is very different than loving a person. You can be in love with a person and not like them. When you like a person, you can kind of tolerate them, tolerate the things that they put you through, because there's this bond that you have that no matter what, we ride or die. It's like, we're going to go through our mess, we're going to go through our stuff, but at the end of the day, you still my friend. I might be angry with you, but you're my friend. I can get past that. I can work on that. We might not be talking for a minute or whatever, but we'll always come back to that place of friendship. And without that in relationships, it causes it to be very difficult. And especially, as Ray was saying earlier, in this season with people being home during this pandemic, it's showing things in your relations. The cracks are showing, and people are really having a hard time because they're realizing they don't like their spouse. They don't like them. I love you and I'm fine when I can go to work my 9 to 5 and you at your 9 to 5. We come home, we got maybe 2-3 hours a day that we really got to spend together. But I'm here with you 24 hours a day, every day for the past, 3 months now? I don't like you. And that's
here's what's funny,
tension.
baby. Here's what's funny, babe. It's funny because now you got the kids added to that mix because they've been out of school. And so you got people who, they're saying as parents, listen, I ain't a teacher. I didn't sign up for this. Like I'm finding myself homeschooling, and I'm sitting here saying to myself, somebody need to come homeschool me because I'm about to lose it. And I think that unfortunately what happens is that we have really not drilled down. And I know that we're coming out of the pandemic now that the different conditions are being relaxed and people are kind of going somewhat back to normal and they're trying to ease these situations. But here's what we know. This pandemic ain't going nowhere, guys. I'm gonna help you. Let me give you some real talk. This pandemic ain't going nowhere. Now, just like, and let me give it to you this way. The flu has not gone anywhere. The flu comes around every single season. As a matter of fact, you guys will hear it talked about as it is, quote, flu season, right? Well, I want you to think of this COVID-19 situation as a new flu season, meaning we're going to have to get used to what it looks like to protect ourselves and to do what needs to be done, not only physically, but I promise you, you're going to have to figure out how to shore up my relationship against a pandemic. I need y'all to put that in the chat. How do I shore up my relationship against a pandemic? Let me tell you a secret. This pandemic doesn't care about the fact that you don't want it around. This situation in these COVID streets doesn't care that you have to social distance. This whole situation with wearing the mask doesn't care. I was in the store the other day and I heard a lady say, this mask, it just makes me hot. I hate wearing it. I wanted to say, I kept my mouth shut because I said, well, Glenn, mind your business. She wasn't talking to you. But I wanted to say to her, yeah, but I promise you right now, being dead is worse, right? So it's all perspective, guys. And we like to complain about what the outside circumstances are doing to us. But my question, and we're getting ready to get into this content, and I hope it really, really helps you. But my question is, what are you doing to fortify your inside to protect you against what's coming from the outside? Relationally speaking, if you're married, put a 1 in the chat. If you're single, put a 2 in the chat. If you're married, put a 1 in the chat. If you're single, put a 2 in the chat. And the last question, or last thing I want you to do, if you are a parent, put a 3 in the chat. So if you are married, put a 1. If you're single, put a 2. And if you're a parent, put a 3. Now, some of y'all might put a 1, 2, 3. It might be all 3 of them, right? That's fine, because I want to know who we're talking to. I know we're broadcasting live again. Thank you so much, Ray. We're going to jump into this content today. Sheri and I are going to drop on you guys 5 characteristics of a great friendship. Put that in the chat. 5 characteristics of a great friendship. Good to see you, Gene, on the line. Tish, I see you on the line. Do me a favor. If you are on the line, just say hello so that I can see your comments. I can't tell if you're there. if you don't chat, if you don't participate in this process. But if you're there, I just want you to say good morning, good afternoon, hello, what's up? Do me a favor, maybe chime in. What city are you viewing this from? If you're catching this by way of replay, put what city you're in around the country, around the world, because we're going to get into this, because I think that, and we're going to come back later tonight. We're going to talk about some other things, and we'll be back again tomorrow morning for Breakfast with the Brookses, where we're going to deal with blending families and some other things. A lot of things are going on. But for today, I want to get into some content I think will really, really help people, Sheri. The key characteristics of a great friendship, and there's only 5 of them, but Sheri and I have lived by these principles for the last 21 years. For those that don't know, Sheri and I both were married prior to each other. And so as a result of that, she was married twice. I was married once for 12 years. We both have children from those previous marriages. They are both grown. Our oldest is now 35 and our youngest will be 27 in October. We have 2 grandchildren, so we get it. Trust me, we do. And one of the things that I want to share with you guys off the break is that blending families, doing relationships, getting to the place where you go past just loving each other, because that's what you're obligated to do, to where you like each other is highly possible. So today we're going to talk about 5 characteristics of a great friendship. Thanks for putting that in the chat, babe. Number 1, and if you're ready for number 1, put ready in the chat. Before we get to that content, Sheri, can you tell people a little bit about what it's meant for you and I to be friends, particularly when it comes to
Well, I think one of the biggest things about our friendship that has helped us is our ability to understand each other on a deeper level. I think even when we've gone through challenges in the relationship, when we've gone through, especially blending a family, it's been chocked with its challenges. But because we like each other, we've been able to not take things personal, to be able to focus on the issue at hand, and be able to, even in the midst of turmoil, like I said before, we have a place to come back to. We have a base that we can come back to, that is a place where we can just be ourselves. I don't have to be a certain person. I don't have to put on airs or act a certain way for you to accept me as me. I'm able to be completely vulnerable and open with you. Because, you know, when you think about your friends are the people that know your deep, dark secrets. Your friends are the people that really know everything about you. Whereas when you're dating a person, or when you're in a relationship that's somewhat, for lack of a better term, superficial, you know, you want this person to see you in a certain light. But as friends, you don't care. You just put it all out there, and you're able to be yourself, your truly authentic self, and knowing that you're accepted by that other person because you're friends. You know, there's no shame in whatever it is that you've dealt with in the past, or whatever issues you're dealing with. You're able to be authentic, and I think that that's freeing. It's very freeing in the relationship, because you don't have to be, you know, try to be a certain person or act like a certain way.
I heard you trying. It almost slipped out. You don't have to worry about being fake. Let me help you understand this so that y'all are super clear. One of the things that I loved about you when I first met you, Sheri, is that what I saw is what I got. There was no pretense. There was no facade. You was not trying to get me to believe a certain thing. You know, I always laugh. I think it's I'm Gonna Get You Sucker movie, where the guy is, you know, with the girl, and she is slowly taking off all of the stuff that's on the surface, right? He dating her, he's saying, yo, you know, he's so excited. He got the wine, he got the music, the lights are down low, he getting ready to get it in, right? He going there, right? This is the conversation, guys. But the truth of the matter is, one step at a time. You know, she take her eyelashes off, and before you know it, she's taking her nails off, and but then here come the wig, and then before you know it, you know, she done popped off this, that, and the third, and it's a situation because this guy is mortified because that person that he met earlier that day is clearly not the person in that bedroom. And I'm gonna tell y'all, when you're in a relationship with a person that you do not know, it is hard for you to like that person. it is hard for you to like that person. So I'm going to give you guys 5 things, and we're going to get out of here for the day, or at least get to some Q&A and some questions if you have any. So by the way, guys, if you have questions as we're talking, do me a huge favor, start putting them in the chat, and then we'll curate them and then kind of try and go through as many as we can by the end of today's talk. But key characteristic number 1 is time. Put that in the chat. Number 1 is time. Put that in the chat. One of the key characteristics for a great friendship is time together. Time together. Sheri, I don't think that people understand that there's an intrinsic value on just spending time. I know that when you and I got together, we spent time doing things that we were passionate about, and that's how we developed a friendship. We developed a friendship 21 years ago, 22 years ago when we met. And as a matter of fact, we weren't even caught up with who we were, you know, as a, like we weren't interested in each other in that regard. We just was cool. And as a result of that, we built a friendship that actually began to grow. And to this day, it gets fostered. It's funny how the littlest thing, it could be a song that comes on and it will spark a whole different vibe for you and I, because we friends. We're not trying to put on airs. You're not being pretentious. You're not trying to figure out, you know, what I'm thinking and all that. When I say friends or spending time together, guys, I want you to understand that this means you are intentionally looking for opportunities to create some time together, just the two of you. When you're a person that really understands what time together looks like, you become a person that literally is looking for opportunities to spend time. Now, one thing I discovered about you, Sheri, is that your love language is actually quality time. But everybody's love language, mine, is not quality time. But here's what I know happens when I do spend quality time. I get to know the person I'm spending time with. And so for me, when this pandemic hit, I'm like, bruh, bring it. Are you serious, right? Like, wait a minute, let me make sure I got this right. Y'all getting ready to pay my wife to come home and work from the house. And she gonna be here all day, every day. And she already my friend. And we can't go outside? And then they turned me on to something, babe. Well, I realized you could order your groceries and they can come to the house. And then you could, so wait a minute, we don't have to go out. Everything can come to us, and I'm cooped up in here with my friend. Oh, it's a wrap. Let's get it. Let's get it. And so we had to come up with some boundaries in here, because I'm all up in your space. You try to, like, bro, I'm at work. Like right now, from this time to this time, I'm at work, bro. So like, you chill on the friend thing, because at this point we can't. I'm supposed to be your coworker. Like, I'm not even your coworker. I'm at another company. You don't see me right now. Why am I saying that? Because I was excited to spend time with my friend. You got anything you want to add to that, babe?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, you know, once you're in a marriage, once you're in the relationship, you know, life happens, things happen. And I think that the thing that is key is intentional. You have to be intentional on spending time. And spending time does not mean going to a 5-star restaurant and spending $200, but it's doing something simple. It can be the two of you committing to going for a walk every day together, going to a park and having a picnic, but you have to be intentional and make time. One thing that we instituted, you know, very early on in our marriage was that we committed to doing a weekly date night. Every week, one day a week, we go on a date, and we've continued to do that so that we get time to spend time together. Even when the kids were at home, we made sure that we got our time, and it could be, you know, like I said, just going to a park, just going for a walk, something where we had time where we could get away from the house, get away from the household responsibilities, where we could just talk, just share vision casts. I know that there was a season where we would go and view, because I like doing home improvement type things and things like that. We would go and visit just houses for sale, just go and tour houses and dream together about what we wanted and what, you know, we wanted in the future. Or, you know, you started playing golf. I learned how to play golf with you so that we could go and play golf together, which is, you know, you don't necessarily do a whole lot of talking when you're playing golf, but it's spending time. So finding those things that both of you value, and that is an interest that you both can do. And sometimes, ladies, this is specifically for you, sometimes learning to enjoy something that your spouse enjoys, like if they like football or they like learn it enough that you can be in their space during that time, so that you can go with them to a sports bar to go hang out with them. I'm not saying you got to become a sports fanatic, but if you can take up an interest in something that your spouse likes or that interests them, and the same goes for men. If your wife likes to go to the theater, if she likes to go to museums, try to gain enough interest that you can go. It's more than tolerating it, but try to gain some level of appreciation so that you can go with her, so that you can share in the things that you both enjoy. And that has to be intentional. It's not just because if you're not intentional about it, life will come and you'll look up, it'll be months and years when the two of you have not spent any quality time together.
Facts, babe. It's funny because now I find myself on the couch looking at these romantic comedies, not because I like them, or looking at HD TV, not necessarily because I like it, but I enjoy watching you enjoy this. Like, it messes me up on how you get all into, I wouldn't pick that color. And I'm sitting there looking at you like, really? Well, why? And you're like, that don't go. See, here's the problem. Now, these people doing their thing. They on TV. They the one with the show. Clearly, they obviously know what they're doing, or they wouldn't have a show. You're like, I wouldn't do it like that. I'm saying, you wouldn't? Well, what would you do? See, if this was me, you see that thing over there? Now, I'm getting caught up in you getting caught up. Now, let me tell you something right now. I ain't the HD TV guy. I'm not. Let me tell you something. Anybody know me know that I don't want to mow nothing, cut nothing, nail nothing. I don't want to do none of that. Put me in a high rise overlooking some water. Bruh, listen, the amenities, I want to go to the gym in my building. I don't want to do nothing. Like, bruh, forget that. But for you, oh my God, you are. And so I'm in it's incredibly fun for me to watch you lean into that, and I'm having fun because you're having fun. Guys, for those of you guys who are just jumping in, we're part of this workshop. It's a family conference that Dominion is doing, and I appreciate Dr. Ray Johnson and all of the team there for having us on. And we're talking about what it looks like when you don't like each other. You love each other, but you don't like each other, and you're having to navigate through these COVID times together. And we said there are 5 key characteristics to a great friendship. And quite frankly, that is what it's going to take for you to be able to successfully get through these times. I'm going to tell you this on the front end. Your love ain't enough. Let that breathe. Your love, that oogly googly, that I love you, that's not enough. You're talking to somebody 21 years in. I did it 12 years prior, unsuccessfully. Sheri did it twice before me, unsuccessful. That love stuff ain't enough. You had better like that person you got to rock with, and you got to be in close quarters. When I was in the military, and Sheri, you were in the Marine Corps, we understand the foxhole analogy, and that is you would want to have something, a connection with that person you got to fight with. Because if not, there's going to be a problem. So we said number 1 was time together. Number 2, Sheri, and this is a characteristic of a great friendship, is mutual curiosity. Put that in the chat, everybody. If you're just jumping on, I want you to put that in the chat. We're talking about the 5 characteristics of a great friendship. Number 1 is time together. Number 2 is a mutual curiosity. When I say a mutual curiosity, Sheri, and you know this, but I talk about this all the time in our M.A.P.S Relationship Academy. You have to become a student of your spouse or your significant other. Let me help y'all out. And Sheri, I know you're going to chime in on this one. But guys, having a mutual curiosity keeps me learning about you. I remember, listen, when I met my wife, one of the things that I took great pride in is just this idea of uncovering the layers and being there. Like, I wanted to know more. And there was just this curiosity that I had. Well, why do you like that? Not that you just like this, or not that you're just into this. Why is it? What motivates you? We would sit for hours, you and I. Remember, babe, when we first, before we even got married, we would go to a restaurant at the end of dinner because we both were coming off of a full-time job. We get there, it might be 6, 7 o'clock. We may grab dinner. Sometimes we've already eaten. And we will meet up at a restaurant just to have dessert and coffee and talk to the place closed because we were curious about each other. And I think that unfortunately what most people do not do is they do not lean in and become curious about their spouse. And so when you find yourself shut up in a 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom, no bedroom with somebody, and y'all can't go out, now all of a sudden you ain't interested in being in that environment with them. I love you, but I don't like you like that, because you've not been spending time becoming curious to each other. And I want to say this, guys, again, it is a lifelong process of really becoming a student of your spouse or your significant other. Sheri, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, and I'm going to chime in. And actually, this time of being home during COVID has actually provided people an opportunity to do that. And if you look at this time that you're home together, and if you really observe your spouse, observe your significant other during this time, hopefully you've learned something about each other. You've learned possibly what their interests are. You've learned how they move in their work day. So I know, I've spoken to some couples that, one particular couple, they were having issues, before COVID, where she was concerned that she couldn't get in touch with him during the day, that he wouldn't return her calls and things like that. But now that they've been home together, they're both working from home, she realizes what his day really looks like. And so she got an inside view of, okay, I understand now why he can't call. He's on calls like all day. He's, putting out fires all day, every hour of the day. So he really doesn't have time to talk to me, if it's something, an emergency, of course, but I mean, just to have a chit chat during the day, he doesn't have the time. And so during this time, and even now, I mean, as things have relaxed, people are still working from home. It's a lot of people still working from home. Take advantage of this time and, get to know your spouse. Take the time to really, like Glenn said, that mutual curiosity, delve into, just observe. And this isn't you spying on them or nothing like that, but observe how they move, observe what things they're interested in. If, you guys are cooped up in the house because you can't, even though they're getting ready to open some things up in some places, but there's still a lot of places that aren't going to be open. So on the weekends, what does your spouse really like to do? Do they, need to be outside? So they're going outside, and that will show you. So when things open up, that they enjoy being outside. So start planning things that you guys can do outside together, because they enjoy nature. Or if they're perfectly fine being cooped up in the house watching TV all day, pay attention to what they're watching. Like Glenn said, I can sit and watch HGTV all day, but that lends to my interest in rehabbing, in home improvement, in decorating. All of that is something that is of interest of mine. And so what I watch on TV is reflective of that. So if you pay attention to those things, and also, you'll understand better during this time, you can get a better insight to their mood when different things happen, how they respond. Now, yes, there are certain stressors with us being home now that are heightened because of everything that's going on, but just be consciously aware and pay attention to your spouse and really observe them, and that'll help you to figure out some things on your own and will spark conversations.
Yeah, I love it. Promise said that Jada Pinkett said that she's been married to Will Smith for over 20 years, and COVID allowed her to see that she actually didn't know her husband. And, that's funny, because on the outside, you think, oh, well, they've got to know each other. They're always together. But when you understand, and I'm kind of grateful in that regard for social media, because it's giving you an insight to people that you just didn't know. But what you have to understand about a Will Smith is that when he's shooting movies, he goes hard 24/7. I just heard a recent interview when she said when he was shooting The Karate Kid with his son Jaden, how they would fly from Beijing to LA to see his oldest son Trey play football every single week. Friday, they would fly from Beijing, China to LA. They would catch his game on Saturday, stay home until Sunday, and fly out and be back on set Monday morning. Here's what's crazy to me. What's crazy to me is that his wife would openly share it and said, listen, I hated that season because I never got to see. Listen, so when you are in a confined area like this and y'all can't go nowhere, it is going to show you areas. And I love what you said earlier, babe, of opportunity. See, that's what we need to understand, guys. I considered it an opportunity to build a friendship with my wife because what I know to be true, and listen, I'll be 54 in September. Sheri is 55. Yeah, she older than me. I know it looks the other way around. But what we have learned is that love thing fades over time, y'all. That obligation piece, you there, but it's like, that arrows kind of thing for all my church people, that erotic stuff, that stuff fades. But here's the part of love that I love that doesn't fade, and that's that friendship piece if you really nurture it. We're going to go to number 3. So for those of you guys who are just jumping on, I'm super excited. We're talking about 5 key characteristics of great friendship, because if you are in these pandemic times like we globally all are, you have found out that you may absolutely love your spouse, your significant other, but you don't like them very much. And I promise you guys, if you're going to move from love to like, you're going to have to embrace the characteristics of a great friendship. Number 1, we said that it was time together. Number 2, we said it was mutual curiosity. And number 3, we're going to use that word mutual again. I want you to put this in the chat, but you're going to have to establish a mutual trust. Let me tell you what I know about friends. Trust goes both ways. Trust in a friendship is highly mutual. And what I need you guys to understand is trust is built on a certain amount of faithfulness toward each other. And when I say faithfulness, I'm not necessarily talking about from an infidelity or fidelity standpoint. I'm talking about from a steadfast standpoint. I trust that Sheri is just going to be there. There is this innate feeling, particularly as a man, that I love knowing that my wife got me. And more importantly, then it's because of her wifely duties. It's because she's my friend. That's my partner, right? Y'all have to understand that when we roll, it's freaking frank. It's Pete and repeat. Listen, you see one, you're gonna see the other. The truth of the matter is that and I want you to hear the word consistent. Not just faithfulness, but consistency. There's a level of consistency that my wife has demonstrated with me and all my ups and downs and all my excitements and losses and wins and all that kind of stuff. But there's this consistency that she's shown to me that, you know what? Hey, buddy, just know this. I ain't going nowhere. I'm here. I remember a time where we've gone through stuff in the past, Sheri, where I've had to just lead with, I don't care what you're going through, but I just want you to know off the break. I ain't going nowhere. So let's just know that. Know that on the front end, and then we'll just figure out what that looks like on the back. So we said mutual trust will nurture a friendship. Sheri, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I think, mutual trust is basically, you trusting, you knowing that other person has your back, that they have your best interest in mind, that you know that no matter what happens, that they're there, that they're going to be there. And that's what's significant in having friendship. Whereas when you think about when you're just in a relationship with somebody, you just meet somebody or whatever, you don't have that level of trust in that person. But when you have developed a friendship, when you've taken the time to truly develop a friendship, your friends are your ride or die. You know that they're going to be there no matter what. You guys might not talk for a year, but you know if you were in crisis and you needed help, you put out a SOS, your friend's going to be there for you. And so in your relationship, you should have that same level of trust with the person that you're in relationship, that no matter what, they got your back. Y'all could be mad at each other and not talking for a day, but if something happened, if I need you, you're going to be there no matter what. I know that I can trust that you're always going to have my best interest in mind. And even in that, that's going to lend to when you do have, challenges in your relationship, when you're upset with each other, it's not going to last that long, because you're thinking about the other person and it's not about you.
Yeah, no, you know what? I love that, because it leads us right into this next point, guys. For those of you all who are jumping in, and we're going to get to some Q&A. If you're in a relationship and you want to know what it looks like to nurture a friendship, super excited to be a part of what Dominion Outreach is doing with this family conference that they're having us be a part of on this Zoom. We're going to be there tonight. Ray Johnson is going to come back at the end. He's going to talk a little bit about some of the different things that's going on. We're going to be there again on Zoom tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we're going to do Breakfast with the Brookses Live, a special edition on blending families. You don't want to miss that. And then we're going to do a panel discussion around noon, I think it is, on Saturday. And he's going to give you all the information about that. But babe, today we're talking about these pandemic times has caused us to be in the house much more than most of us would like. And we're finding things out about each other that we just flat out didn't know. And one of the things is that we love each other, but we're really struggling with the fact of whether or not we like this person. And if you're going to grow, not only in a pandemic situation, but in any kind of scenario relative to your relationships, you're going to have to know what it looks like to grow a friendship. And so today we're giving you guys the key characteristics of a great friendship. And number one is time together. And we said earlier that there is an intrinsic value that you get out of spending time. And when I want you to hear, when I say spending, I mean literally giving up something that you work for. Giving up something of yourself that cost you something. See, when I spend time with my wife, I'm giving up my time. That's a price. For me not to do what I want to do and do what she wants to do, there's that in of itself is something that's spent. And so when you spend time, there's a value you get. Number two, mutual curiosity, becoming a student of your spouse, becoming a student of your significant other, becoming a student of the person that you say that you love and you want to build a lifetime with. When you become a student of a person, what it is it births a curiosity that keeps giving. In other words, the more you know, the more you want to know. And one of the things that I have to coach men is, please don't get this twisted. Don't get comfortable thinking that because y'all been rocking all this time, you quote, know her. Here's what I know about human beings. We evolve. Human beings change. And whether you're growing for the better or for the worse, I promise you, you're in a state of moving. So for me to assume that I know Sheri 5 years ago and then 5 years later and then in the next 5 years and thinking that she's the same person, that would be a very, very audacious assumption to make. I promise you, because she's moving, she's growing. And so we're telling you, listen, you're going to have to be really curious, become a student of that person. Number three, we said you're going to have mutual trust. There's going to have to be this thing where you know that you can count on each other. Number four, and this is going to lead right into something that Sheri said, you're going to have to build in grace. Put grace in that subject. Put grace in the subject. Guys, number four, in order to nurture or build or really foster, a key characteristic of a great friendship is grace. And the reason why is because when you're friends, and think about this for a second, your friend can screw up and make a huge mistake, but all they got to give you is a little bit of act right, and you be like, you know what, we good. Girl, we all right. Bro, don't even worry about it, bro. My bad. Bro, hey, you good, bro? Let's go. Let's move. Like, that's how friends rock. Like when friends connect with each other, if Ray invites me to breakfast one morning, and I get there and I'm there for 30 minutes and he don't show and he come in, bruh, you would not believe it. I'm like, yeah, man, come on. I already ordered for you, man. Come on, sit down. It's coming. It's on the way. It was already backed up. I got us a table and I ordered because you my friend. I know what you want. Man, I appreciate that, man. You would not believe it. We're not dealing with the whole, why you late? And what's going on? And what, you ain't called me? And come on, man. We need to build in grace, especially if you want to grow a friendship. Sheri, do you have anything you want to add to that, babe?
Yeah, grace is one of those areas where you have to have grace in your relationship in order for it to be successful. You have to. I don't know how many different ways I can say that. You have to be willing to extend grace to your significant other, to your spouse, because they're going to do things that are going to upset you. They're going to do things that they have to apologize for. It's going to happen whenever you bring two people together that are from different backgrounds, were reared differently, that are two separate individuals. There's going to be some friction that's going to happen from time to time. And so you're going to have to be willing to extend grace. You're going to have to be willing to accept their apology and move on. And in relationships, you're going to go through seasons. You know, it's a valley of hills. Relationships have ups and downs. And so when you're in those down seasons, you're going to have to be willing to extend grace to say, okay, let's deal with this. Let's move on. Let's keep going. You can't let everything that happens become a roadblock and it stops you, or the relationship won't progress. So you have to be able to grace each other in those moments when you make mistakes, when they make mistakes, when they say things the wrong way, when they hurt your feelings. You have to be willing to extend grace because, number one, you know that this person you trust, that this person, you have mutual trust, you know this person has your best interests in mind. So you know they're not doing whatever they did intentionally to you. They were having a bad moment. They were going through whatever they were going through. It wasn't about me. It was about them. They were dealing with whatever they were dealing with. And so I'm going to grace them. I'm going to move past that. Now, I'm not talking about the person that's just maliciously out to hurt you, whatever. You should, number one, you shouldn't be in a relationship with that person. But if it's normal stuff that's happening in a relationship, you know, you're going to have those ups and downs. And so you have to be willing to grace that person so your relationship can continue to grow. And you have to take those situations that happen and grow from it, each of you, so that you can become better.
I love the baby. I want y'all to put, when you think of grace, I want you to put this in the chat. Let's start over. Put that in the chat. Let's start over. Put that in the chat. When you think of grace or having grace with someone or for someone, it's a mindset of, I don't mind hitting the replay. I don't mind hitting restart. I don't mind getting a do-over. Does that make sense, guys? Like, listen, like you get a do-over when you my friend. Great. When we're friends and when we're building together, you get to make a U-turn. You get to double back. You get to figure out, okay, how can I get that one back? You said something that you really didn't mean to come out. You get a do-over. There are times where I will tell Sheri in a heartbeat, baby, can we just hit the reset button? Can we just hit this conversation isn't going the way it should go. I can feel it's just getting out of hand. We're not going to get to a resolution. Can we just hit the reset button, please? Because I have grace for my friend. I'm not so worried about it. We talk about this all the time in the M.A.P.S Relationship Academy, where we talk about, Sheri, do you want your point or do you want peace? Do you just want to be right for the sake of being right? Or do you want harmony? Do you want the relationship to be able to breathe? And so, for crying out loud, have some grace. It starts with gracing yourself. There are a lot of people who can't deal grace because they don't have it for them. In other words, you're so hard on you. You don't allow yourself to make mistakes. You don't allow yourself to falter. You don't allow yourself to get it wrong. I remember a really, really quick story. Years ago, when I was in ministry, we had a summer camp and all of the counselors were getting their CDLs in order to be able to drive the kids to and from the field trips. So we had to spend more money hiring bus drivers. And so when we all got our CDLs, I never will forget, I failed the air brakes test, that portion of the test, 6 times. And I will never forget, I was so dejected and so despondent and so down on myself. I was calling myself, you stupid, you're a failure. How is it that you can't pass this test? And my 17-year-old daughter came in the house one day. She said, Dad, let me ask you a question. Now, I'm at the kitchen table, basically in tears. I'm so frustrated. She said, Dad, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been a professional driver? I said, mm-mm. She says, have you ever driven an oversized vehicle before, like a school bus? I said, mm-mm. She said, had you ever grown up wanting to do that for a living? I said, Is this something that kind of came out of the blue and you kind of never even thought you would be here? Yes. Then my question to you, Dad, is why can't you give yourself a break for not knowing what you don't know? That was coming from a 17-year-old. And so what I realized in that moment is that she was teaching me, bro, you need to have a little grace with yourself. And guys, listen, when we don't have grace for ourselves, it's hard for us to deal that for our spouses and for our significant other. So I want you to understand that if you want to nurture a friendship, you're going to have to figure out how in the world do I develop the characteristic of grace. Last one, and then we're going to go to some Q&A if you guys have some questions that you want to ask. And then I know Ray has some things that he wants to share with you guys in terms of what's going on for the rest of the conference. But number 5 is something that is really, really tough to understand, particularly, and I'm talking about in the confines of a marriage. I want to put this in the context of marriage. And number 5, in order to a key characteristic of friendship is oneness. Put that in the chat. Oneness. When I talk about oneness, what I want you to understand is that there is a oneness that is spiritually, emotionally, financially, and relationally moving from 2 individual agendas to now a common agenda. And I need you guys to hear this. It is true that Sheri and I are 2 very different people. It is true that we are 2 very different temperaments. It is true that we have very different interests. But what is also true is that we have a oneness when it comes to our agenda, our goal. At the end of the day, our marriage means something. It is going somewhere. It has a direction. We're not just married for the sake of being married. We recognize, quite frankly, guys, that our marriage means something to other people. And so as a result of it, it has a direction to it. And so there is a oneness in terms of an agenda that we have that really comes from our friendship. Our friendship says that there's plenty of room for us to be individuals, but the mission is together. The agenda, the goal is to accomplish that together. I can characterize it this way. There's 15 different ways to get from point A to point B, but the question is, are you going to get there? Are you going to get there? Do you wind up arriving at the same time? So I want you guys to understand that when you have oneness, when the mission is the same for the both of you, you can be all the individual you want, but there is a oneness that will nurture your friendship and take it to the next level if you understand, listen, we have to figure out what is the overall agenda and where do we end up. And for me, Sheri, and you can chime in, it makes the work worth doing. Because at that particular point, the work that it takes to nurture our marriage, which is the work that it takes to build on our friendship, it becomes worth it when I know that our agenda is the same thing. You got something you want to share, babe?
Yeah, and I think that I want to make sure that people understand when we're saying oneness, that this is you, when you come together, you have a shared vision for your family. You have a shared vision for your relationship with where you want to be, where you're trying to go as a combined unit. Yes, we're both individuals, and we're individuals, and we're going to have our separate interests, our separate things that we do. But I think oftentimes, especially for people in church, particularly, you know, when we go through the vows, when we understand what marriage is, you know, when it talks about, you know, becoming one together, I think some people take that literally and think that you really become one. And that's not what that means. You're not going to now like everything that he likes. He's not going to like everything that you like. You're not going to move together. You don't become Siamese twins when you get married. You're still 2 individuals, but it's like Glenn said, it's being able to have a shared vision and you're going in the same direction. And so one thing that I think is key when you do get in a relationship, when you get married, is that you sit down and you develop, what is our vision plan? What is our vision for our relationship? Coming up with a vision, you know, what is our mission as a family? Where are we going? And having that, you know, sitting down and really writing that out and creating it. And then you revisit it maybe every year, however often you need to revisit it, but you're both in agreement with where you're going. Because what often happens is people never sit down and talk about that. And one person may be thinking, hey, in 5 years, I'm thinking we're going to have a house, we're going to do this, where the other person is like, you know, I'm good here. I want to get a Mercedes. I want to do this. Y'all ain't going in 2 different directions. Because if one of you is striving towards achieving one thing and another person is striving towards something different, that division is going to affect your relationship at some point in time. Because when you get to that point in time to execute, you can be like, hold up, but I thought we were doing this. Well, I thought, you know, and one thing particularly in families, especially with young families, is children. If you've never talked about what direction you're going in children, in regard to children, whether you want to have children, how many children you want to have, talk about a fight waiting to happen. But you have to have those conversations so that you are united in where you're going. And that's what that oneness means. It means coming together as a united front and having a vision for where you're going as a family so that you can be on the same page.
No, absolutely. That's all facts, babe. One last thing I want to add to that oneness, and then we can take questions. If you guys have questions, do a little Q&A. We got started just a little bit because of technical difficulty, so we're willing to stick around a little longer just to be able to hang out with you guys. But when we talk about oneness, one of the things that I think that people need to often understand, babe, is that oneness starts with a game plan that you guys come into the relationship with. And so we're talking about how to, build a great friendship. What are the characteristics of a great friendship? And I'm gonna promise you, great friendships are mission-minded. If you look at where friendships are even birthed, think about it. You become friends in the 5th grade because you were in the same class working on the same project, and all of a sudden you got to know this person. You invited them over to the house for the weekend so that you could work on the project. And then now, 30 years later, you're still friends. Why is that? Because you established a oneness. There was a one-mindedness or a one destination. You both were interested in ending up in the same place. That's where you found out that we both really, really love being creative. That's where we found out that we both played instruments. That's where we found out where there was this place that we both wanted to end up. And so it's not an accident that the relationship continues to grow. So I want you guys to think about that, because if you can think about it from that standpoint, when you come into a marriage or when you come into this relationship, that oneness is really easy to carry out because it started with where are we going? And now you can be individuals all day long and have different interests, but that oneness keeps you focused. And quite frankly, it keeps your friendship growing. There's a couple questions in the chat, guys. If I'm going to scroll the chat a little bit and see if we can't find a few. But if you're just jumping on again, I want to just say thanks to Ray Johnson and all of the team over at Dominion. And I just appreciate what you guys are doing. This is our second time being with you guys for a family conference. It was crazy is 2 years ago when we were with you guys the last time. We did that in person, but COVID, had other thoughts, right? So we're here now, man. So again, Ray, thanks so much for having us, bro. If y'all want to do some
thank you all so much. I think that everybody would agree with me that you guys, as normal, are outstanding with what you do in terms of marriage and parenting and relationships, and doing it successfully. So I'm excited about that. And 2 years ago, you guys were with us. You guys will be with us until we all get to the point where we can't do this anymore, or at least nobody want to hear from us because we done got a little bit too gray and too old, and we're just so out of touch. Now, I can't foresee that happening because we keep our ears to the pulse of culture and times and that kind of thing, but this is a mainstay. So every 2 years, there's going to be some kind of marriage conference that I'm going to do, or some kind of family. And I really believe that the expansiveness of including family, the dynamic of that's going to be important, which is to say tonight, they'll be back with us again at 7:30 tonight, right in Zoom, and we'll be streaming again. Go to the website, register so you can get inside of the room, and that's dow.church, www.dow.church. And then Saturday morning, or a special edition of Breakfast with the Brooks, I've asked them to talk to us about blending a family in light of COVID-19. So some of what you heard today and a little bit what you hear tonight, in light of COVID-19, like I say, COVID has done a whole lot to expose family dynamics. And so you find out some things that were hidden, and you find out some stuff that lies beneath. But so now you've got many people like myself who are coming together in a family dynamic first time. And then both Glenn and Sheri have pastored as well before. So I want to encourage ministry persons as well who are coming into second relationships and thirds and blending a family to be able to join us. Now, I know it's early on 8 o'clock Saturday morning, but I promise you, Breakfast with the Brooks is well worth it. You can be able to lay right there in the bed, watch us, and delete your video out. Nobody will see that you still got the crust in your eyes. You got to make sure that you make it. And then at noon, special time at noon, now Juma Pollard, Tamara Johnson, Glenn Brooks, Sheri Brooks, myself, Alan Tash Kabibi. We will all be online, and Leon Winters will be with us also, all online. Nothing but Q&A for 1 solid hour. Line your questions up ahead of time. Make sure that you register so you can get in the room. And this is not going to be, Glenn, as you and I know, churchy talk. This ain't churchy talk time. This is real talk time where it's going to be real but righteous, and we'll communicate with you. Let me just throw one question out while people are kind of putting some questions in the chat. Sheri, you mentioned this about being able to adjust with people over time and adding grace to that. So I wrote this question down. How do we handle the changes in people over time for those who've been together 25, 30, and then you've got some people, they've got, marriage experience. Mine was 20, lady was at 18. We're coming together and we're not who we were, though we knew each other in our 20s. We're not who we were in our 20s. In our 40s and 50s, we're totally different people. How do people handle the changes of somebody in their 20s, 40s, and 60s? All of them are different times, same person, different season. How do people handle and adjust that?
I think the key to that is realizing first and foremost that everybody evolves, that people are going to change. They should change. If you think about it, if I'm 50, if I'm the same person I was at 20, that's a problem. I should have changed. I should have grown. I should have matured. I should have evolved from that point in time. And so if you embrace that from the beginning, that each of you should evolve over time, you should change, you should grow. Now, sometimes the changes that a person makes you may not like them. You may not like the fact that, and I know we went through a season where I was growing in my speaking up. I gained my voice, I like to call it. There was a season where, before it was a positive and a negative. I wouldn't always speak up about everything. But then I went through a season where I was like, okay, I'm gaining my voice. I speak up about, I don't have a problem speaking up anymore. And it was uncomfortable for Glenn because he was used to me not sharing, me not talking about everything.
Is that the snapping turtle? Is that the snapping turtle? I think
yeah. When it was backed up in the corner, it was, yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, but what he had to realize was that I was growing, I was changing. And so the grace part came in and him allowing me to grow in that area, even though it didn't always come out right, but he knew that I was growing. I was trying to find my voice. And so I didn't say everything right in the beginning. It would come out a little rough. It would come out a little harsh at times. But as he, allowed me the grace to be able to grow in that area, I learned how to temper it. I learned how to be able to speak in love when I need to share something because what it was for me in that particular situation, because I was not used to speaking, I grew up in a home where people didn't talk about anything. No issues. Nobody ever talked about anything. And so once I started doing it, I had to force myself to do it. So it came out forcefully because I was making myself change in this area. And so he realized that because we talked about it. And I think that's one thing that's key too. When a person is growing, when you're changing, you need to let your partner know, hey, I'm working on this area. Personally, I'm working on this area, or whatever it is, giving them some heads up that, hey, I'm changing here. If you done went through from you don't work out, you don't do anything, and now I'm into working out, I need to let you know that because I'm gonna be at the gym every day after work. So part of it is communication.
That's good.
Communicating it to the best that you can. But then also the grace comes in from just you realizing that we all should evolve. You should be more worried if the person's not changing than if they're changing.
That's good. Glenn, you want to add anything on that? I got a question coming your way.
No, man, I think Sheri hit the nail on the head. I don't have anything to add to that. I just, just give that person room. And I'm excited about tonight's session because we're going to talk about communication and really help people with language, with some steps and some strategy on it. But yeah, no, that's fire, babe.
Listen, so not to say anything about me and Glenn, but we're both lions and we're both not chameleons. We're flamingos and lions at the same time.
Yeah.
So Glenn, let's just have a conversation to alpha males who are watching us right now. How does, and I'm gonna use the term alpha male, how does the alpha male come back from a screw up? He has screwed something up And you know, he's so dogmatic,
Mhm.
so bold as a lion, but it has come back. He has screwed up. No, I'm not going to get into the dynamic of it, but how does that man come back in the relationship with the woman that he's in relationship with? What does that look like for him?
Well, I think that one of the first things that that brother is going to have to do, and it's a struggle. I'm going to say that on the front, and it's not easy, particularly when you are used to leading, when you're used to dictating pace, when you're used to, especially if you're a visionary and you're used to being super creative and out front on stuff. But there is a level of humility that if it doesn't come into that relationship,
That's
you will
it.
lose it.
That's it.
You'll lose it. And I know what that looks like. It's called, I was married 12 years prior to Sheri. There was a level of humility that I would not allow into the relationship by way of me.
Mm.
Let me give y'all something to chew on, fellas. You allow humility to come into the relationship via you. And so what it does is it decides, when I decide that a relationship with my wife is more valuable than my pride, I will be humble.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again. When I make the decision as the alpha male, as you characterize it, or in the temperaments, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. There are 4 temperaments that are in every human being. If you've ever taken the DISC assessment, the D, the I, the S, and the C. The D is a lion. The I is a flamingo. The S is a chameleon. The C is a turtle. The truth of the matter is, when you are a high D, or you are a high I, you're a high lion, or you're a high flamingo, you're super extroverted just by temperament. And so because of that, you're used to going first, you're used to going fast, and you're used to going often. Well, when a person like that, male or female, but we're talking about the husband, when they get caught out there, it is hard for them to make a backtrack. It is hard for them to come back up off of that, because temperamentally they're not used to. But what I will promise you, if you do not personally allow humility to come into your relationship by sitting your pride down willingly, then you won't allow for growth, because at this particular point, your pride means more to you than the relationship. And the end of that story is that you'll lose it, because there's nobody on the planet that wants to be in relationship with a prideful individual. I don't give a flip how well you provide. I'm so sorry, but that's not fun. And let's just be honest, guys, when you're in a relationship for 20, 30, 40 years and you don't have a component of fun in it, well, who wants to do that? Like, who wants to be in a relationship like that? So to answer your question, Ray, I think that really is about you introducing humility. And again, it's going to take you to do it, and it's going to come through you. But when it comes through you into the relationship, I promise you, there is absolutely nothing that your woman won't make room for when she recognizes that you are broken and that you are willing to set your pride aside. That's where she makes the room for you to come in. Y'all fix that thing. And if you're really good, after you fix it, it becomes even more galvanized forward, because now you know what that looks like, and it becomes easier and easier to do that the more you move forward, if that makes any sense.
I think it makes complete and total sense of being able to backtrack and, as we say from back in our day, back that thing up and try again and make sure that you get synchronized on the same page. Listen, this has been absolutely outstanding. Y'all make sure that y'all join the Brookses tonight here at 7:30. We'll be streaming again, but I need you in the room because all of tonight's question and answer is not going to be streamed live because we're going to get into some things tonight, tomorrow morning at 8, and then again at 12 noon. So for these last 3 sessions, make sure that you go to www.dow.church, dow.church. You know, Glenn, I think if the corporations can have their extension, if the universities can have EDU, why can't the church have .church? And so that the kingdom is able to be represented inside of these spheres. Make sure that you join in with us. We'll see you tonight at 7:30. Thank y'all so much. I know we're a little bit extended time over. Share this when you see it with a friend. Tell them to get inside of the room tonight. Thank y'all so much. We'll see you guys. I'm going to just kind of close it out right here, and we'll see everybody tonight. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.